Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different than normal. We're actually going to talk about a presidential executive order. There's actually been a couple of them that have impacted grants, and we get a lot of questions. So we thought it would be a good idea to put together a blog addressing each one separately. So we're going to start with the one that was issued on August 7th. This one is related to, again, improving oversight of federal grant making. So this one is really focused on waste. And what it's going to do is it's going to require each agency to designate some type of senior appointee to review a funding process. And basically, we're going to require that they review discretionary grants. This is what the target is, to ensure that they are part of the president's agenda and serve the national interest. So when we look at things like the review process, things are going to require them to review and approve the announcement, making sure that it's clear on what's allowed and unallowed, continuation of any coordination with the Office of Management and Budget, obviously, review by a subject matter expert, review of the announcement to ensure that it only includes what we need and nothing extra. And again, is written in plain English so that people can understand and minimize the need for either legal or technical expertise. Interagency coordination to determine whether the subject matter of the particular grant has already been addressed elsewhere, right? To reduce duplication and see which one so that we don't have as much redundancy. If it's related to scientific discretionary grants, have a review by at least one SME in the field, and then pre-issuance review of discretionary awards to ensure that they are consistent with law, regulation, and agency priorities, and the national interest. So again, really beefing up this process here. As we look at this, some of the things that we can expect coming down the pike, agency heads are going to designate someone to review these on an annual basis going forward as well, making sure there's some type of mechanism in there. And in the meantime, until this process has been implemented, they are not supposed to issue any additional funding until that person's process has been set up. So this is, again, kind of a time sensitive, where are the grants that are supposed to be coming out? I actually taught a class earlier this morning and they were like, yeah, we usually get this grant every year, but we haven't gotten it. It could be because of this reason. In addition, when we look at some of the evaluation here, making sure that, again, it is focused on presidential priorities. And then again, there are certain things like DE&I, immigration, certain, priorities of the president that they want to make sure are being not considered in terms of there. So not using any funding for those particular types of grants that may have been funded previously. And then again, all else being equal, preference for those who have a lower indirect cost rate. So if you have a very high indirect cost rate, that could negatively impact your ability to get some of these discretionary grants. One of the things I thought was super interesting is that they wanted to really start divvying up the money maybe a little bit different. So instead of the same people over and over again, a broad range of recipients. So again, making sure focused on outcomes and trying to see if, what we could do in terms of getting feedback and output. So again, focusing on gold standard science, having benchmarks to evaluate whether the awards are achieving their goals. And then again, in sort of the discretionary awards, prioritizing the commitment to academic rigor and reproducible scholarship over, just historic reputation or prestige. And so, again, there's lots of citations around historically, maybe certain universities who've gotten grants where the information that they've produced isn't either reproducible or hasn't achieved certain outcomes. And so the goal here is to make sure that we're more outcome driven. And then again, some changes that they've targeted in respect to the uniform guidance. So the uniform guidance is typically only updated every 5 years. This is focusing on maybe making an additional change to uniform guidance around clarifying terms and conditions for discretionary grants to allow them to be terminated for convenience. You've probably heard about several grants that have been terminated that have these types of agreements in there. And then another focus is to limit the use of discretionary grants for facilities and administration. So things that are not related to maybe the instead of just the support of the back end, but more around the actual work that's being done. And so each agency has 30 days to review the terms and conditions and identify whether there is the language around this ability for the government to just terminate, and to identify the awards that do have this out there. And there's some reporting that has to be done. And then again, updating awards that maybe don't have the language that they're looking for. So each agency going forward are going to make sure that they include certain language and allow them to have those terms and conditions so that grants can just be eliminated should they no longer be needed or they no longer meet the purposes that they were designed for. So again, it's an interesting executive order. We just try to cover what's changing and not any politics related to it. So we just want to let you know what the executive order is doing with respect to grants so that you can be aware because it may be impacting either you or your clients' ability to receive certain grants as this transition is happening. So that's a wrap on this week's blog, and we look forward to seeing you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.